rather loud. It is now 6 o'clock at our new earlier time. That seemed to please everyone involved. And so thank you all for coming. And we'll have our call to order now, our invocation by Councilman Truman.
God, we ask for guidance in our deliberations tonight, that we do the best for our town and for our neighbors. And we thank you for this incredible little community that we are blessed to call home. Amen.
All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Janice, if you could have the record reveal that all council members were present. Yes, sir. Thank you. And we're going to go right into our announcements. First, from our fire department, who has some great news to share. And Johnny's behalf, we have Tim. When he learns how to turn on the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. For the month of June, we had 49 calls for service. 17 of those were EMS calls, 21 fire alarms, 4 structure fires, and then within the city limits of Hollywood Park, they were in the city of Castle Hills had 1, and Baraboo Verde had 3 of them. To assist the public, 2 down power lines, 1 child locked in a vehicle, 1 motor vehicle collision, and 1 odor of smoke with an average response time of 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Acadian Ambulance responded to 17 calls for our medical with an average response time of 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Highlights of events for the month: on the 20th of June, we attended the Hollywood Park Swim Team fundraiser. On the 25th, Engine 129 came back from Siddons Martin from service, so it's back in service. Every repairs have been completed on it. On on July 23rd, our Quint is scheduled to go into the shop at Siddons also to have all the repairs made on it. And then on July 27th, Chief Patrico completed a fire home inspection for our foster care, so he just wanted me to let everybody know. Anybody that wants a residential fire inspection will be more than happy to come out and do that free of charge to our citizens. And on July the 4th, the fire department took the lead on the 4th of July parade and had a good time seeing everybody and handing out candy to all the kids. So, and then I talked to Miss Hall earlier. She wanted me to recognize 2 of our firefighters if they want to stand up and come up here real fast.
Can you share any of the details about the structure fire that took place in Castle Hills? Thanks. Thank you.
Jeff Robe, he responded to the fire in Castle Hills on July the 2nd.
Use a mic, would you? So people at home and across the planet can be listening in.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So this is firefighter Jeff Robe right here. He responded to the structure fire in Castle Hills with another firefighter, Vince Gonzalez, which couldn't be with us tonight. So if he can give you a couple details if you like. I wasn't there. And then firefighter Brian Ricklick responded to one of the structure fires out in Baraboo Verde's area on June the 30th.
So we responded. We were the third engine, or the third. We took our Quints. So we were the third unit in. 6 departments actually responded to it. As soon as we got there, it was the whole street had been smoked out. You could barely see. As soon as we got there, they were calling for everybody to, leave or get out as soon as possible. Then we heard the 3 alarms, so we thought maybe there was a man down, mayday. So we went up to the top. We found out that no, people just kind of 2 guys got burned because it was a little bit hotter than they thought when they poked into the attic.
So 2 firefighters.
2 firefighters.
Castle Hills.
One of them got burned on the ears, and one of them got burned on the arm pretty bad. So once they saw that the whole attic had been, going for a while, they pulled everybody out. We went defensive, and the whole fire took about 5 hours. So we were there till about 4 a.m, and finally got it out. But
that's one of the larger dwellings in all of Castle Hills, isn't it?
It was a very large house, with a brand new roof, for sale. Was going to sell the next day, so it's pretty unfortunate.
Wow.
But
Did they say how it started?
they're not sure. They thought maybe something was left in the kitchen on, but they're not sure. I think they're still investigating it.
Wow.
Good job.
That was one of them.
Thank you, guys.
So I responded to the Bearable Verdes fires that night. Unfortunately, they had a very high call volume from the large thunderstorm, and there was, I believe, Bearable Verde had possibly 4 fire alarms, a couple tree fires, and 2 structure fires that all were dispatched within a period of 10 minutes maybe. So we responded to the first structure fire. It ended up being a fairly minor one, but unfortunately a lot of resources went to that one, and by the time we determined that one fire wasn't needed and Bearable Verde sent us to the second one, the house had been pretty much, there wasn't an offensive option for that fire, so it was a defensive fire, and we helped Bearable Verde out with it.
Wow.
That's about it.
Thank you guys for putting your lives on the line. Thank you.
Tim, there's one more story. The Saturday of right after 4th of July, I don't know if you remember that day.
Yes, ma'am.
A young man that lives here in Hollywood Park, I was coming in, and he flagged me down. He said he didn't feel well. He asked me if I would take him home. He couldn't drive. And I said, I'm not going to take you home. I'm going to take you to the fire department. So I called them, and when we pulled up, Tim was outside waiting. He had the doors open, ready to transport. And I believe that's what you ended up doing after
Yes,
you
ma'am.
checked
We
him
wanted
out.
to transport him to North Central Baptist Hospital. He said he hadn't been feeling good, and he said his heart was hurting, so we wanted to rule out a heart attack and everything else, so we put him on the monitor. Couldn't determine what the cause of the issue was, so we told him it'd be best if he got transported to the hospital so they could do the further blood test and work and determine what the issue was. So
Well, the good news is I have seen him jogging in the park since, so everything is
Great.
well.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do. I don't know if any of the council, I'm sorry, but I forgot my book. Right after the report on the fires and all, the next page there is page 8. Have y'all had a chance to look at the calendar? Council people.
I have looked at it, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
On June 16th, there was 3 firemen here on that day. And on that day, there was an EMS call, which I'm hoping everything worked out with that one. And there was 9 where Johnny was not the 4th man. And I would like to, I'm going to send you an email and request a closed-door session, and the council talk about that. I don't know how long it takes to set that up, but I would like that on the agenda.
I share your concerns on that. And not only from that aspect, but we've asked Johnny to be the 4th man, and as Delane said, there's a lot of instances on here where he's not, and we're incurring a lot of overtime, and we're over budget on overtime, and a lot of it has to do with this because we could save on overtime if he was doing that. So I agree. I think we should set up some kind of protocol and have something formal so we can move ahead from there. So I think having a session is a good idea.
And well, it'll come up again in budgets also. We're going through department needs and staffing
Okay.
and all. And so, good point. All right. Chief Pritchard, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, greetings, everybody. Hope you're having a great week. Appreciate you being here. Busy month. So June, July, August are our busy time of the year. Summer's here. People are out and about. Sometimes I wonder what they do for a living because I'm not having any fun out there. There's a lot of people on the road. So we had 442 calls for service this past month. When you start dividing that out by our small department, our officers are quite busy. If you go down to citations, and that number, I circled it on the board, we had 428 citations issued. So that's our new record. It seems like we keep making a new record. Well, here we are again. We've got a new record, so we're up to 428 citations. I know our prosecutor is sitting in here as well, so he's certainly earning his paycheck. We're keeping him busy, and Janice and her ladies busy. So busy for our officers. Now, I will caveat that saying that next month those numbers are probably going to dip a little. We're short one of our officers because he's doing his summer reserve active duty that he's required to do by the Army. So he's got 3.5 weeks where he's out in the desert in California. So he's off the schedule. You've probably seen that as well. So we're pretty thin. But myself, I'm going to introduce our new captain, but myself and the captain here, we're we're suiting up. So, it's all hands on deck when we have this call volume and we've got people out. So we're making it happen. If you go down to this last column here, this is the one as a resident, as a police chief, that we keep a very close eye on. These are our crimes against persons and crimes against, your property. Those numbers, if you see 0, that's great news. If you have a 0 there halfway through the year, you're doing outstanding. So we're doing really well with our property crime. Our numbers are extremely low. So I'm real happy about that. Then this category is our alarm calls and animal calls and so forth. You can go down to patrol buys. That's where we do those house watches when people go out of town. But we'll actually go by and shake the windows and doors and check on your home. I know some people in here have actually used that service. So we did 242 of those in June. So it's a great service, but it does keep us busy. So we did have a robbery in Hollywood Park. We've not had an armed robbery. I've been here 7 years. We've not had one in those 7 years. So we actually had a guy that came into our Holiday Inn, brandished a knife, and robbed the clerk. Well, come to find out, this individual has also been active in San Antonio. So there was 5 incidents in San Antonio. So you're looking at the actual intelligence bulletin that was put out by the Robbery Task Force in San Antonio of this individual. So that's the bad news. Here's the good news. Hollywood Park officers apprehended him. He came back this past weekend, and they actually caught him. So we put him in jail, and we're going to work with San Antonio and keep him in jail as long as we can. So I'm really proud of our officers. They responded. These are not the kind of calls that we handle on a day-to-day basis, but I can tell you, quite frankly, that they performed very well in this very stressful. This guy had a weapon, and they got him apprehended and did a wonderful job. So you should be very proud of your department because they did an excellent job putting this guy in jail. So last week I was in training. This is mandatory training for all police chiefs in Texas. There's 40 hours every 2 years of continuing education. So that's where I was this past week. And then our captain, he went to the spaghetti dinner. That's something the Hunter Club does every year, and we're extremely proud to be a part of the Hunter Club. As you know, Kendall County lost a deputy tragically. This is the organization that supports the family, and they're wonderful. So if you need a place to deposit donations, this would be a great place to look. We go to their meetings and fundraisers every year, so they're helping out a lot. So myself and Dave, now listen, I'm going to tell you this, so I'll keep it brief. I was on a call. I thought it was an injured deer call, and I was going to have to go and put it down and take care of business. It was me because all the officers were busy. So I took the call. I get there, and there's a baby deer, and it's not dead. It's injured. Something got a hold of it. A coyote or a dog got a hold of it and injured it. But it was still breathing. But luckily, this was on Fleetwood, and Miss Truman lives about 4 houses down from where I was at. So I called her, and she came and helped me, and we took this baby deer over to the wildlife rescue. And last report's doing pretty well, from what I hear, right? So what an awesome story. What an awesome thing we got to do that day.
Yes.
We got to save a baby deer, so I'm pretty proud of that. Of all the things that go on, it's these little things like this. Man, it's just great. It's great to work in Hollywood Park. So with that, I'm not going to make him come up front, but if you'd stand up, Captain Ballou. So this is Captain Ballou. He's taking the place of Lieutenant Williams. Lieutenant Williams is going to stay on board with us part-time. He's going to help fill in for supervisors that take vacation. Hate to say it, but we've actually had to not let people go on vacation this summer because we're that short. So Captain Ballou came on board. He's a veteran at SAPD, rose through the ranks. He was a commander at SAPD, and he's a retired police chief from Windcrest. It's unbelievable that we coaxed him over here, and I'm extremely happy. I've worked with him the last couple of years on the board, the Alamo Area Police Chiefs Board, where he was the past president. He's a good man, and he's going to be full-time with us in second command. So if you see him out and about, please say hello. Fortunate to have him. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you for joining us.
Chief Pritchard, I just want to let you know he did an outstanding job for you at the EDC presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback, ma'am. Any other questions?
All right. No, great
Say,
report.
I got to ride in the back of a paddy wagon when your guy
yeah.
took me out to get my car when we were messing with that. I was like, dude, give me air.
Not a place you want to be.
All right, Kelly, would you have a Public Works report for us?
Good evening, Council and Mayor, everybody else. Thank you for showing up. So my report's pretty short and simple. Monthly code log, we had 53 total cases. We've got 5 cases pending, and those are the Fleetwood House, the Rodamata House, and then there's a couple others that we're still working on. So Gavin's staying pretty busy trying to stay on top of the code stuff. Just a slight update on the stuff on the Fleetwood and Rodamata. Ryan's office called me today. They have done title searches. As soon as those come back, they get it in front of a judge, and so the judge can start signing orders, so we can start moving forward from there. What the process is and what the judge does, you can ask Ryan that kind of stuff, but that's where things stand on that. Voight Center, once again, you see we had 21 events in the Voight Center, super busy month. Things have drastically slowed down for July. I want to thank council for funding the shade structures. I'm sure everybody's seen them. I get nothing but compliments on them. You know, it was a great thing. It worked out perfectly. Managed to get it in before the 4th of July, so that was good. Everything else, my guys are finally getting caught up on getting the grass cut. It stopped raining for the last 11 days, so we actually can put a lawnmower out. So that's pretty much it. State of the city seems to be in pretty good shape right now.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
All that you guys have done, especially with those shade structures. For the financial report, Jeff Henson.
Evening, Mayor and Council. The financial report and the fund summary, I want to point out that your revenue is 95% year to date. We'll look at some specific ones in there, but and the expenses are only 65%. The reason for that is you have a large budget balance for public work infrastructure, which I assume is the roads and the streets are supposed to be done, and that hasn't been started. That's why the expenses are so low overall when you look at the categories. If you turn to page 31, you'll see that your ad valorem tax, your property tax is at 95%. Sales tax is at 93%, and we still have 3 months to go, so we've got 25% of the year to go, and we're already at 93% of budget. There's a couple of accounts I'm looking at. The one is the SWB BC AT&T account. It looks low, so what I'm going to do is look at it and see if some of the franchise taxes came in and went to the wrong account. And one thing I want to point out to you, you wonder what I'm doing on the actual expenses. If you look down on the municipal court, you'll see in account 400-608 and 400-618. One of them is municipal court security fund. One of them is municipal court technology fund. And you'll see there's no budget there. That's because they're flowing to the wrong account. They should be flowing to actual funds, either those special revenue funds I was talking about, and they're actually separate funds that they need to go into, because the money is supposed to be protected and it's for only certain expenditures. And the big one, if you turn to page 32, you'll see the interest in our general fund is a whopping 866% above budget. So we're going to be maybe even hit 1,000% for the first time I'll see that on financial statements. It'll be close, I'll tell you. It ought to hit 70,000. Other than that, our revenue is doing really well. The expenses are all within range of what they should be. I've been going through different ones, and any misclassifications I see, I make entries to take care of them, items like that. But when we go through budget, we'll see in more detail, because the budget will have 5 years of actual there to compare to what the budget's going to be and where you are here. And if anything is really out of line, that's where you see it, and that's where you know that something's a mistake one way or the other, whether it's high or low or those kind of errors. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Jeff, I know we're anticipating between $400,000 and $600,000 in expenses on the street repairs. Yep. And if ads are finally going out this weekend, and hopefully we'll get those begun in September.
Yes, if they do not start the year, what we will do, since council wants it that way, I'll come to council, and if you want to, we will commit that money. That's all we can do. It's not by a law for restricted. Commit that money in the fund balance, so that money is there specifically used for those streets and can't be spent for anything else.
Was that what the public works infrastructure was put in there for? I thought that we had money in the street fund that we were going to spend.
It'll be a combination, I think. It's No?
I don't think. Well, maybe.
I'll check on it and make sure. I'll go back to the actual budget, with the budget sheets and look and see what was said and all to see what it is. But you're correct. We do have a street maintenance fund that is pretty well off right now too to be able to use, and you also have that capital fund that has money in it for items also. So yeah, you could do a lot of streets.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Ryan, serving as our city attorney tonight, do you have anything to share?
I'm not sure if it's directly city attorney related, but for those that don't know, our judge, Daryl Delnig, had his granddaughter born finally. So don't ask me size or anything else because I didn't pay attention to that. But just tell him congratulations and wish him well. But that's about all I've got to report.
I'd like to add something also. Our mayor here has his first granddaughter yesterday.
Thank you.
So he's a grandpa.
She was about 3.5 weeks ahead of schedule. And Genevieve and Veronica are doing well. Thank you. And I guess it's my turn. I just want to thank everyone for coming. And it's been a busy summer, but it's been a productive summer. We have a lot of things on the table, and I'm disappointed that the street work didn't get started at the end of June as originally intended. The delays were, we were told because we were waiting on City Public Service to confirm street cuts that would or would not take place. We didn't want the streets to be resurfaced and then have them come in and replace lines and cut through them. But I'm going to figure out a way to avoid that happening again. I think we approved the street work last August or September, and the engineering work was done by the end of the year. It was going to start in March, and then the CPS input dragged out, and then the passing of our prior attorney, Mr. Brennan, delayed things by another period of time. But I'm looking forward to seeing that get done. It won't take that long once they start, and appreciate everyone's patience on that. All right, we're going to the consent agenda part of our meeting and to discuss or approve the minutes.
I have just a couple of comments, and Janice, I'm sorry I didn't get these to you earlier. I just read them tonight. Okay, so on page 24, under the presentations, and he may have said this, where it says he told the council SAWS would be removing the 2 tanks at 363 Donella Drive, although they are facing Fleetwood. They're actually facing Rue Damata. Did he say Fleetwood? Fleetwood. Okay, so that's what we have to put. Okay, and then on the special meeting on page 28, for the executive session, remember Murphy came back out here and said we're also meeting under a certain other thing. Do we need to add that?
We probably do.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I also skipped the city secretary's report, and I apologize for that, Janice.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay, well, it's okay, Mayor. I don't mind at all. Just wanted to announce and Chief is right, we really had a busy June. We had 744 violations on the docket this time. Didn't offer snow cones, but we got through it. So thank you, Ryan, and your staff for helping us out with that. We even received $37,000 in revenue for that month. We will be having a large court again also in August because we're going back through files and trying to get people back in here that didn't appear the first or second time. And August will be the last month that we'll be doing that. We're caught up completely after that. If you go to page 12 and you look at our building permits for the month of June, it's a total of 148 permits. Of course, that includes 71 pool passes that were given out. And even though, June and we've already been open for 1 month for giving out passes, we still had 47 resident passes that came in to the tune of $8,000. So $13,900 is just on pool passes. So pool is still going pretty strong. Just wanted to also make mention of the fact that we really had a good time at the 4th of July picnic. Well, it's a picnic and the parade, and we now have a new vehicle which Councilman Howe named the Admin Mobile. So I like that. I think we're going to drive that around all the time now. Also wanted to make mention of the fact that I know we were talking about and discussing pricing on the VoIP for non-residents and where we stand on that. So right now what we're trying to do is get the square footage of just the meeting space. Once we get that, we do have a series of people that we want to call, and so hopefully in the August meeting we'll be able to let you know what the figures are after meeting with Councilman Howe and going through all of those things. So just in time for budget session, so that way if you feel that a price increase is deemed necessary, we'll be able to do it at that time.
Cool.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. With the amendments mentioned by Councilman Truman, would anyone like to approve the minutes of the council meeting? And
I move that we approve the consent agenda in its entirety as amended. Okay.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Now, for citizen participation, we actually don't have any citizens signed up to participate. If anyone would like to come up and speak and share 3 minutes of your time with us, you may. All right.
Hello, Mayor.
Yes, Tanya Cummings, please come up. Good evening.
I wouldn't have didn't plan to sign up anyway, but after I heard Tim's presentation for the fire department, I just wanted to commend you. It was very well done, lots of extra details, and acknowledging the firemen that were involved is making them feel good. It's just an all good feeling about everything. But you did the report was very good with some extra details. That was all I had to say. And
Thank
yours
you.
is good too, Chief. And everybody else.
Tanya helps us also in many ways, too numerous to mention. Thank you, Tanya. Going to old business, take possible action to approve an agreement regarding pool aerobic classes at Voight Pool. I think since this was placed on the agenda, Councilman Howe, can you share an update? I think.
If I'm not mistaken, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was in Atlanta. But Ryan, I do believe she said she had to look at her schedule to see if this is something she can still continue to do. Schedule-wise.
For this year, actually,
right.
what the discussion was depending on how long the pool would be open, which is up to you guys, it may not work this year, but if not, she's still interested in next year. And if we kind of lay out the groundwork, then it moves much faster if we do it next year. But she still may be able to do it this year. She's just not gotten back to us on the timing aspect of it. That's what she said.
I thought we had talked about
The
it
city
kind
might
of
be
being out of our
involved.
hands.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised to see it on the agenda.
me too. Me
I
too.
think there was an issue of the lifeguard question, but then there was a scheduling issue, and again, we want to find a way to be able to extend the use of the pool beyond the regular season, which is basically was it Memorial to Labor Day,
Pretty much.
and find a way to do it that doesn't put the town at risk, and we can embrace the warmer and cooler water, but until such determinations have been made, I don't see an easy solution to that.
Yeah, and so I thought we had decided that it was okay for her to give lessons down there. That's what we had talked about with lifeguards, and that we're not involved in it. And
Right.
she
That's what I
accepts
remember.
liability and all that. And I don't think it's a good idea for us to enter into an agreement with her. I don't know, because then it opens the door to doing it with everyone, and then all of a sudden you got people teaching all over the place, and then do we have to do it for the tennis courts too? It's the same concept. So
There
I feel like
are
we're-
some-
we're
and it's a
opening
for-profit
Pandora's box.
endeavor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just,
And then there's no room for the residents who have bought a family pass because they're all taken up with people teaching. So I don't know. I'm
Yeah, she didn't
confused
feel
as to
it.
why it's here.
I think that might have just been an error, but I think the same way tennis pros can offer lessons and earn some income, we've let that go when it just when it's done on its own,
Right,
independently.
right.
And she didn't feel that the use of excessive lanes would really be a problem, so I think we can just let it work itself out.
And that's fine if that's what you guys want to do. The contract itself that is in front of you actually poses some logistic problems with what you're trying to do with the lifeguards and your memberships and things like that. And so it's not exactly what I'll call a optimal solution.
And there's nothing for liability in there either.
No, there's nothing for liability.
I
because
feel like we
it's-
should be completely out of the picture as far as, I mean, if she does that, we shouldn't have any involvement, especially signing an agreement with her. That would make us involved.
Yes, it would.
The only exception would be if the pool was going to be used outside of the normal season.
Well, if it's used outside the normal season, then she has to provide all the things
All
that
the
go along with
requirements.
that.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
We're not going to provide anything as far as lifeguards or extra maintenance or anything like that.
Agreed.
Okay.
What, did you look into the deed restriction thing? I got a copy of the Voight deed restriction, or the Voight, whatever it is, and I didn't see anything in there that says anything that you can't do anything to make money there.
Not on the deed restrictions. That's not necessarily where the problem lies.
But that's what it kept referring to as, you know, I mean, that's been.
But
the
you'd still have
talk
to
of
have a
the
membership.
town.
Yeah, that's where the
Right.
problem, and it has to do with the kind of pool, what kind of public access you have, because your pools are regulated by category, and so the way you have your pool set up, you can do exactly what you've been doing, but when you deviate from that, you pop yourself into a different category. And that's where the problem comes in. That's where you start getting into liability issues and lifeguard issues and other kinds of issues along those lines.
I think we're talking about two different things.
Okay, we might be. I might not be understanding the
Okay,
question.
there's has been talk forever that you can't have any money-making function down there at the Voight Center because when they deeded the property to us, there were restrictions that prohibited that. But I looked at it today and I didn't find anything like that. And, you know, there were the restrictions were it had to, you know, be called this, and these people had to have free access, and it had to be used for Parks and Recreation. And I didn't see anything about any.
I didn't see anything in there about prohibiting for-profit use in the deed restriction.
Okay, I didn't either.
Okay.
So maybe we can put that to bed?
I am not for it. I'm for Hollywood Park having jazzercise or something in the pool. I don't like it that it's in the middle of the day. That's something that you do either in the morning before the pool opens or in the evening where you're not interfering with families down there with the pool. But I was always under that impression, too, about you. That's why the concession stand's not open, that they could not sell stuff to make money.
If there are any other restrictions, I need to look into it and see. I did not see any in the deed restrictions. Depending on, like I said, the category of pool, there might be something else that prevents it for what you're, for the access that you're allowing, but I didn't see any in the deed restrictions. If you need me to look into that, I can look into that, but I don't recall that being in what I've reviewed or what Mike reviewed with regard to this particular issue.
No, you don't need to look into it.
Say, Ryan, for the most part, what type of liability are we getting into every time we do this or bring this sort of thing up?
Well,
as far as the city,
I'd rather talk about that in executive session. Your aspects when you allow certain things to the general public and you pop yourself into a different category, you have to have lifeguards there all the time. And anytime the general public, without membership restrictions, are triggered, you've got to have the lifeguards. And there are aspects with what's called the recreational use statute. As to, do you charge for it, do you not charge for it, kind of what category you guys are in. What the council had done with the pool before and that Mr. Brennan had recommended, he and I had actually discussed that issue because I had another city that would have a similar type of issue with the pool. And so he set it up well enough that you guys are not exposing yourself to unnecessary liability the way you're operating it now. I will caution you, to deviate too much from that, you're going to pop into something else you may not be expecting. Now, that's a different aspect than what your insurance covers. So you have certain levels of insurance that cover certain things, and you have some pretty good insurance with regard to coverage at the pool. All right, but that doesn't mean you're not liable. It just means the insurance company's involved.
I remember him saying outside the typical season that Mr. Brennan mentioned, it may evolve into forming a club, a swimming club, and that there different rules apply.
Yes.
When that's the place, but this item is we don't need to discuss further tonight.
If you want to she can do it on her own without an agreement for you. It's just she's subjected to the same rules and regulations that everyone that shows up there, is subject to.
Makes sense. Thank you. All right, our next item is an executive session. We'll convene in a closed session as authorized by sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to consult with its attorney on matters relating to the discussion of personnel matters regarding the city attorney position and the purchase or transfer of real property. All right. It is 6:37. We'll be right back.
I never get any. We're public works. We're the stepchild. I got it. I got it the last meeting.
Oh, okay, so you're good.
Yeah.
is now 7:13. We'll bring our council meeting back into session. Do I need to repeat the instructions of the executive session again? Or can I just...
No, sir, just the time you came out, that no action was taken.
All right.
Move on.
It's now 7:12. No action was taken, and we're going to move on. Now, in our new business, discuss progress of the banking RFP. Yes, Jeff.
As we spoke about before, I posted a depository agreement RFP for banks in the area. We advertised it. It's required by law on the paper. And we got 3 submissions, one from Plains Capital Bank, one from Lone Star National Bank, and one from Frost Bank. All 3 banks have branches in the area, and they all are qualified because they already have experience with cities. So what I anticipate, once I get together, where I can get Councilman Howell, Councilman Hall, Councilwoman Hall, excuse me. When I find some time to get together and I have my sheets, I will give each one of y'all one of the booklets, and I'll give you one of the score sheets for each one of the banks, and we'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever. We will do it, and then we'll meet together, and we will look and see, and I will put them all together, and we will compare them, and we will distribute the points as they were, and I anticipate us coming to council next meeting to actually pick a new depository bank. I just want you to know, though, once you pick a bank, that's just the beginning. It'll take almost 3 months to get things transferred over and to get it so things work. So we'll be having 2 banks at the same time. It's an interesting situation, but it'll all work out. And I'm just happy that we had 3 submissions that actually qualified for being cities who already are depository banks for other cities. Is there any questions?
No, not for me.
I
Thank
got
you.
one, Jeff. So how do you feel about Frost?
Excuse me?
How do you feel about Frost?
Frost's a good bank. I mean, things happened, and the security measures, from what I understand, weren't in place on the side. And somebody said, "Well, this and that," but they are a very good bank. They're a local bank, okay, and they're very large. And if we do choose Frost or any of the banks, we're going to make very, very sure of what security procedures are in place for anything that is done through computers, where we actually go through portals and items like that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. On to new business. Item number 2. Discuss take possible action on legal services for the city. I'd like to thank the firms that submitted and expressed an interest in providing legal services for the city. Our council met, looked at the qualifications and the information that was submitted, and it is our council's intention to go with the law office of Ryan Henry and enter into a 2-year agreement on the retainer basis program. And thank you.
Thank you.
I believe new business topic number 2.
Well, you need to vote.
Would someone make a motion to move in that direction?
I move that we hire Ryan Henry's group for the next 2 years.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Now, item number 3 on our agenda is to discuss take possible action to approve a resolution for the 2019 Police Gateway Security Camera Project and issues related thereto. This is the same program and package that was approved in resolution form by the EDC last past Thursday, and is a significant improvement. And if there are questions for Chief Pritchard about the proposal, I think some of you, Debbie and Delane, were at the EDC meeting.
The only question I got is, why is there only one contractor that's bidding on this?
So this is one of those, and I believe he is a
Sole source.
say it again, Ryan.
if my understanding for the specific
Right.
types, what you're looking at is a sole source, but he actually qualifies under the Public Safety Security section on the Procurement Act.
It's, the project is, there's not another project like this right now. This will be the first. This is a pretty big and bold thing to do for us, but I think it's going to be an extremely enhancing idea for security and safety for the citizens of Hollywood Park. This is something we've been working on for 3 years, so this is not something we just put together, last week. And it's quite a challenge to be able to pull this off, technically and financially. So I understand, Councilman, what you're asking.
So they're basically the only one in town, is what you're telling me.
Pretty much, it's a sole proprietary software and equipment and solution to this project that I want to do. So it's not been done before. So if you were to push a button and say, "Hey, I want somebody to come do this," there's a lot to it, a whole lot to it.
And are not components of this bid elements of state pricing or contract pricing as well? What does that refer to, Captain?
The buy
Ballou?
boards.
Pardon?
The buy boards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the term I was lacking.
Mr. Mayor, it was actually, we printed out the actual thing for Mr. Blue, and they're on the state contract, CMBL, the cities can piggyback on. There are 3 things they can do: HGAC, buy board, and the CMBL, which cities piggyback on the state contracts. If an entity's on that, you are not required to go out for bid unless the governing body says they wanted to.
Okay.
And the prices have to be in the reason for that is the prices are within a range that the state's already negotiated.
Okay. So there's an element of value implied with that. Good question. To support the EDC's recommendation for the resolution, we need to decide to either move to approve it as well or not.
I do have the representatives here if we have any questions, like
Yes.
detailed questions about the project. There are reasons that we don't go into extreme specifics for security purposes, but I'm happy to answer any technical questions. And if I can't answer, I know Matt and David are here. They've been working on this for a couple of years as well, so this thing's been ongoing. And but I know the EDC is excited to move forward, and I'm extremely excited to move forward with this project. So we would appreciate your support on this.
Do we need a second reading, Ryan, or what do we do?
This is technically your second reading. The EDC approved it with the resolution. The resolution has to be read twice, but it has to come through to you guys for approval regardless because of its price tag. So you basically look at it and you make a motion to approve it or not. But you're kind of the last stop.
But we read it too, right? Before we
Yeah,
approve it, we
yeah.
actually read the top of the
You read the
heading.
header. You read the header, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Are y'all good? Okay, shall I read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. A resolution of the Town of Hollywood Park Economic Development Corporation authorizing the 2019 Police Gateway Security Camera Project and authorizing the expenditure of funds for the 2019 Police Gateway Security Camera Project. So shall I move to approve that resolution?
Yes.
I move. I just
I
did.
second.
Do I have a
Second that
second? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
Thank you. Now, item number 4 is to discuss, take possible action to approve Julie Chaclet to fill the current EDC vacancy left by Scott Boynton. And I want to thank you for offering to join us in this role. And it's like you've been a 13-year resident of Hollywood Park. Is there anything you'd like to share with us at this time? Please, if you've come up to the podium, introduce yourself and your address and share anything you like.
I'm Julie Alexandra Shacklett, and I've been in the park for around 13 years. I started out on Yosemite, and then I've been on Sunway for about 10. I feel like I'd be an asset. I am a real estate broker, and I'm in neighborhoods all day long, see the city, and so I think I could bring a lot to the table in regards to where we should develop Hollywood Park.
All right. Thank you very much.
Can I ask for a question?
No.
Julie, I know you've been trying to get on the EDC for a long time. You've have expressed an interest like a year and a half ago, or with Janice, I believe. And I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I want someone who will contribute to the discussion. I want someone who will be an active participant and speak up and just be active in meetings. And if you will do that, you have my full support.
I attended the last EDC meeting, and I would have definitely had a couple things to say.
Okay. Thank you.
I see that you were an 80 Pi at Texas State.
I'm on the Texas State House Core Board for the Alpha Delta Pi chapter, and they asked me to be the chapter advisor, so I'm going to be mentoring girls. I'll be mentoring college girls. Currently, I'm involved in the Women's Club of San Antonio, and I'm the ingenue chair, which I mentor girls ages 12 to 18, and we sponsor. We have one of the 7 official teen queens, and so I mentor those girls to go through the program to be queen during Fiesta. So Fiesta is a busy time for me.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you for your involvement.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Would anyone like to move on this agenda item?
I make a motion that we accept Julie Alexander Shacklet as the new board member on EDC.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. All right, number 5 is to discuss take possible action on section 30-161, number 7, enumeration of prohibited noises of the Hollywood Park City Code. Councilman Howe.
Yes, I don't know if everybody here on the board knows, on the council knows that I work Monday through Friday, and if Saturday I want to take down my leaky gutters, I'm not able to do that, okay? I don't understand it. It's my house. I actually saw someone else working on their house, and a policeman stopped them because there was a noise ordinance that they're not following, okay? So my question is, when you read this section here, it says weekdays, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., you're able to work on your house, whether that's a contractor or yourself. That's what I'm trying to find out. Can we work on our house on the weekends? We're not going to be knocking on the doors or knocking out windows and at 7 in the morning, My question is, why can we not work on our house on the weekends? Is there something in the ordinance? Did you know about that?
I didn't know about that. I think it's ridiculous.
I do too. Okay.
Guilty.
I think the item right before it that talks about working on a car except through a muffler or other device, that probably was written because of me.
I guess, I met a new neighbor in our town here, and he was met with a police officer on a Saturday because he was working on his house. And so I started thinking about it. It's like, so I can't work on my house? Is that what's going on here? And I can't get any kind of clarification. However, the town of Hollywood Park can work on the Voight Center and its construction on a Saturday, but yet the homeowners can't work on their house? So I really need to get some clarification here that someone can actually work on their house, building it, whatever they're doing, on a Saturday. Is there a reason why it's only Monday through Friday?
Michael, I don't know about this particular thing, but I do know you can run a chainsaw all day long on Saturday and Sunday cutting trees.
Exactly.
So I don't see it as different. I would like to think that on Saturday and Sunday the time's not 7.
Yes,
maybe it's 9 or noon
and
or
I just
something.
think maybe we need to look at this and see if we can put something together that makes sense. That if there's shingles, okay. I know it talks about emergency situations.
Are we misinterpreting that part where it says public safety and convenience?
Correct.
If it's convenient for you to do the work on the weekend, is that the exception that makes it allowable for residents to do the work on their home?
How is taking off gutters a noise issue?
I'm just shocked that somebody would stop and say you can't work on your house. I'm just blown away by that even happens.
I think it's a very old ordinance, Councilman, and frankly, what we do is when people come to City Hall and they say, can we work on the weekends? I always say, the ordinance actually doesn't fit into current times that we're in now, because as Councilman House said, the Voight Center would have been delayed 2 or 3 years if we only let them work Monday through
Janice,
Friday.
I think you're right. I see when you're talking about the dating of this ordinance, because right below it, it's talking about the crying, calling, shouting, the use of a whistle, rattle, bell, gong, clapper, hammer, drum, horn, loudspeaker, or phonograph, or a hand organ, or other devices or instruments, musical or otherwise. I think that
1989 was the last time that thing was updated.
So what do we have to do then to get this so that if I want to work on my house Saturday from noon to 4, okay, or if I want to start at 9 o'clock, I mean, the lawnmowers are going at 8 o'clock in the morning. Why can't
Tell
I
me to
work
bring
on my
back
house?
a new ordinance, so I'll bring back a new ordinance that does that.
Well, see, now also when you're, say like if you have family over at someone's birthday or something like this, you also don't want to hear that noise. So I don't know if there's a happy medium where maybe it's not on Sunday till.
Well, I don't want somebody telling me when I can mow my yard or when
Thank
I can
you.
paint my house. I don't care what's going on. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's a. What's that?
Maybe it's to vendors, and it would exclude residents.
Yeah, but Michael's talking about himself working on his own house.
Or anybody, any homeowner, okay, that wants to work on their house should not
Right.
have their hands tied. No, you have to do it Monday through Friday.
Well, what happens whenever you have a situation where we've had excessive amount of rain? So someone.
Thank you.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate, please, so I understand. But you've got a construction project going on, and we've had an excessive amount of rain, and all of a sudden you got a clear day on a Saturday.
You just request the permit that Hollywood Park got to work on Saturday. That's all, I guess.
Okay.
Because that's what I tell vendors. You can work, but of course, if someone complains because it's in the ordinance, we'd have to shut them down. So that's what
But
we
you
do
don't
in
want
the meantime.
to be, not anyone I've ever had in Hollywood Park, but in some other cities that I've prosecuted, I've had noise ordinance violations for people mowing their lawn at 3 a.m. Okay,
3
so
a.m.
3 a.m.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
not cool.
those
And so-
lawnmowers have headlights.
Actually, it was the writing ones.
Yes.
So you do need a modicum of control
Right, I
in there,
understand that.
just some reasonable time frames.
Who's,
All right.
who's enforcing it? Are they getting complaints on the enforcement of it?
So on the weekends, we do cover code calls. Okay, we're not actively looking for code violations, but if we get called for a code violation, we have to respond, interpret the code, and then enforce the code. Kelly does it 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So we got nights and weekends, but my guys are not out there actively looking for code violations because if we see something, we give it to him to deal with on Monday. So that would have been a situation where somebody witnessed that and called us.
Yeah, there was a complaint.
Right. So and I agree, you have to have something in place or you're going to get the craziness of 3 o'clock in the morning. But I just read it and it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough.
So
Very
let me
restrictive.
bring a more relaxed version, a modernized version back to you at the next council meeting that tries to reach that happy medium as you're talking about.
Instead of clappers, it could be ringtones.
Well, I have to include iPods and
Yeah.
the newer technology
Can it be leaned more toward contractors as opposed to homeowners?
to a certain extent. There is some equal aspects.
For instance, roofers. The roofer gets a job, he's going to have to blow in there and.
What you do is you really tie it to the types of noise that are being generated, and the contractors have because of their equipment and other stuff, generate higher decibel levels of noise, generally, not all the time, depending on what kind they are. But there's a way to, like I said, to a certain extent, you can, prohibit or at least regulate the timing of those that generate higher levels of noise, while the property owner may take him a little longer. And it'll still be loud, but not nearly as loud, during the permitted times.
But what I don't understand is why would it be a problem for a contractor to work on a Saturday, whether he's hammering nails or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Why would that be a problem when during the week everybody that works out of their house or that's retired has to hear the noise? Why is it on Saturday the noise has to stop? When
You'd have to have someone on council than 1989
Okay.
to get an answer to that one.
So
I
And-
can just tell you what I've heard. Saturday. It's my time to rest with my family, and I don't want to hear the hammering. I don't want to hear. That was mentioned in the past.
And every time I hear a hammer or a roofing or construction, I just know my property value is going up. So,
And then you have the people who work Monday through Friday, and they're the ones who have to work on their house on the
Correct.
weekend.
On Saturdays. Mhm.
And I was talking with my husband about, like if someone's building a septic, usually you want to get that done as quick as possible. And here, there's, like probably a full day of jackhammering, but you got to get it done. And I mean, it's loud and it's obnoxious, but sometimes that's real critical. Their old system has failed, and or they've had a lot
It's
of
a balance
rain
of
and-
noise or sanitation.
Exactly.
I thought maybe this was written about the time when the gardens were being constructed, because there was 150 homes adjacent to a bunch of existing homes, but this is way before that. And I think a happy medium could be reached where there's more.
great. So then,
What the council wants me to do, bring you back something next time?
Just a little ordinance.
A little ordinance.
Yes, not a 25-page ordinance.
30 minutes worth.
Well, what I'm thinking of
Gotta
in my
define
head right now
reasonable.
will actually reduce the number of words that's there right now.
Dude, that's what I like.
Okay.
like Saturday and Sunday, are those the words you're looking
I
at?
have to add those in.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool.
Well, thank you, everyone. This adjourns our meeting tonight at 7:34. And I want to thank everyone for attending, and thank our scouts in the back for coming to the meeting.